that has been carried forward from the 13th of April 2021. Today is the 20th of April 2021. Right, apologies for absence, please, Mr. White.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, members. We've got an apology from Councillor Coulson for this afternoon's meeting. And just for those listening into the streaming, Councillor Musgrave is not currently online or part of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 2 is the confirmation of the minutes from the meeting held on the 2nd of March 2021. Mr. White, do we have anything from there?
I don't believe so, Chair.
No. Does anybody have any comments or anything? Right, may I have a proposer and a seconder of the confirmation of the minutes, please, or all just agree en masse?
I'm happy to propose it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kimber.
No.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hipsey. Anybody typing in the box that they disagree? Oh, sorry, I can hear somebody's voice very quietly. No? Can we take that as read then, please, Mr. White?
That's fine, Chair. There's nobody in the chat box indicating their reluctance to support those minutes being approved, so we'll take those as carried. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Item 3, declarations of interest. Members are invited to declare any personal or disclosable pecuniary interests, including the nature and extent of such interests they may have in any items to be considered at this meeting. If councillors have any questions relating to predetermination, bias or interest in the item, then please contact the monitoring officer in advance. Items 4, items requiring urgent attention. I don't have any. Mr. White?
I don't either, Chair, that's correct.
Mr. Molyneux doesn't?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Item 5, public forum. Does anybody have anything for, no, sorry, not anybody. Do we have any items for public forum, Mr. White?
We do not, Chair, for this meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. So item 6 is pages 9 to 12 of our agenda and is the public, is the Hub Forward plan, please. So if we have a look at there. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this, please?
The only thing I would add, Chair, is that because the meeting's been rearranged, we have now published the Hub agenda. So all those items which are indicated as being on the Hub meeting agenda for next Tuesday, the 27th of April, have obviously been published and the reports are in the public domain now.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much, Mr. White. Right, so I take it nobody has any questions on that item. So if we move to item 7, the corporate key performance indicators. And who's leading on that one?
That's Councillor Edmonds, Madam Chair.
Hello, Councillor Edmonds. How is Lifton this morning?
Good afternoon. Bathed in sunshine.
Oh, a bit like Mr. Molyneux then.
Yes, it's fantastic. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Would you like me to kick off?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Well, this report presents a snapshot of performance across a number of key service areas. As the report explains, this information has not been reported during the past year due to the Council's response to COVID-19. The performance management information provided with this report has been extracted from the Pentana software system, which is the Council's current management information tool. This system will continue to be used for reporting purposes to members until the FIT programme is sufficiently developed to provide online real-time information in the form of member dashboards, and this should be available later in the year. Performance is regularly monitored by senior management, but I feel it is important that this information is available to members so that they can be aware of performance and work with and support officers as they strive to continually improve the service offering particularly at a time when our services have probably never been more in demand. Turning to the screenshots attached at Appendix A, it is testament to the professionalism and commitment of officers across the two councils that performance in general has been maintained, or in some cases improved, during the most challenging period of the last 12 months. Section 2 of the report provides a narrative on some of the service areas to add context to the information provided. In terms of portfolio responsibility, there is a slight overlap between Councillor Moody, who is the lead member for Customer First, and me as lead for Performance and Resources. My role focuses on the provision of performance information from members, with an overview of overall performance across the Council's service areas. Councillor Moody is, I believe, on the call, along with Mr. Davis, who is the Customer Improvement Manager, and we will do our best to answer any questions on the performance measures in front of you. Looking to the future, as I mentioned earlier, as the new ICT system develops, I shall be working with Mr. Davis to develop a suite of performance management measures for members that will be available not just at council level, but also at individual ward level. In the meantime, Pentana will continue to be updated with performance data and accessible to members online. Now, if any member requires a reminder or replacement login details for the Pentana system, please contact Mr. Davis, who will be happy to provide. The past 12 months has demonstrated the importance of effective service delivery, which is, after all, why we exist. Renewed focus on our services, informed by robust, timely management information, will provide a sound platform on which to base our emerging corporate strategy. And finally, Madam Chair, the report recommendations. The recommendations are that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee notes the performance figures shown in the Pentana report, and secondly, that members review the information provided in the dashboards and provide feedback to the portfolio holder on any additional measures required to scrutinise performance. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Edmonds. Does anybody have any questions, please?
Councillor Kimber, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kimber.
Thank you very much. Just choking. I'm just looking on page 20. There's a chart on page 20 headed the web online submissions, and it's got Liberty compared to the legacy system. I was just interested to know the trend, because I see in the fourth quarter of last year there was quite a few submissions. I'm just interested to know the trend, you know, how many of the new forms are being used from the Liberty system.
Thank you, Councillor Kimber. Now, I know that Mr. Davis has interrogated the system, and I believe he has that information available for you.
Yes, exactly. So in quarter three, which is when we started using Liberty Create, we started taking in the majority of live processes in the system. We were looking at about 30% of demand coming in through Liberty, 70% through Workflow 360. For Q4, we're at roughly 50-50 between the two systems, as a lot of new processes are going into Liberty and coming out of the old system, and we expect that trend to only increase as we pick up some of the more demand-heavy services like revenues and benefits. So we would expect that probably by Q3 this year, all web traffic will be coming in via Liberty and none through the legacy system.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Wood, please.
Hiya. Thanks, Chair. Just following on from Patrick's question, on page 22, there's a chart on West Devon sickness, and there's a big peak there for long-term sickness in quarter two. And I just wondered, has that been resolved, and did that have any kind of long-term effects on the sort of on the staffing morale, etc.? And just sort of wondering, it looks like it's been resolved now, so that seems okay. So it was a sort of just a sort of well, we care about their staff obviously, and hope that long-term sickness isn't too much of an issue for them. Thank you.
No, so if I pick up on that, so it was Q2 1920, so a fair while ago. One of the issues we have is that when we report sickness, it's based purely on West Devon employees, of which the split between the employing organisation of West Devon or South Hams is heavily skewed towards South Hams. So that I believe there are only around 40 West Devon employed staff. So that being the lead authority, which I think is just a legacy of the way that we did the T18 process. So it's a very small number of people. So any long-term sickness, because it's measured in number of days, ends up being quite a high percentage. So it makes the graphs look quite peaky. Because there's only a small number of staff that are technically West Devon employees. But across both authorities, it wasn't a particular peak. It was just happened to be staff that were technically employed by West Devon. But historically, our sickness levels have been low. I mean, we look at the average per FTE is less than 2. For the public sector, you'd expect that to be around 3 or even higher per quarter. So historically, we're very low, and it's just a matter of managing long-term sickness back into the organisation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Davis.
Mr. Davis, I take it you meant 2020. I know you said 1920 was a long time ago. It was a very long time ago.
That's going back that. Don't go back that far.
No.
I think he's referring to the year 2019 and then 2020. So 1920, and then you get 2020. You know.
Yeah, probably just me being a bit dense there. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Yelland, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just had a quick question, if I may.
Councillor Yelland, we can't hear you.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That helps to put the microphone down, doesn't it? Thank you. Okay, so my quick question, which was related to page 5 of the snapshot, so to speak, which is the first one, WDNI 192, percentage of household waste sent for reuse and recycling. In the black line and the blue line, which both relate to 2019-20 and the 2020-21, they both descend after sort of October in more or less the same pattern. So it's clearly not COVID related, it's just general habit, shall we say. So my question is there a reason why there is a reduction in the amount of household waste that is sent during that particular time, during the autumn time frame then? Because I can see in 1920 it started to go up again after Christmas, and obviously we haven't got the details of 2021 yet on that one, but that particular quarter, shall we say, there is a pattern that echoes twice.
Yes, basically those figures include green waste. So there's less recycling of green waste during the winter. And because it's based on percentages, although there's less residual waste overall as well in general. It just drops the figures.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I had forgotten it would include the waste. Thank you.
It might be helpful then just to be able to put an annotation beside that, Mr. Davis, because that is, you know, as Councillor Yelland's pointed out, it's an annual thing. So it might just help us all to just remember that the waste does drop down about that time of year. Does anybody else have any questions for the members or the officer, please? Councillor Cheadle.
Yeah, thanks, Mandy. I was just looking at the performance figures for enforcement, which are on page 23, I think. There's a sort of worrying but perhaps understandable trend that the number of enforcement cases received has gone down, the number of cases closed has gone down, and the number of cases outstanding has gone up. And I just wonder, is that sort of totally down to the impact of COVID, or is something else going on?
I would say that, I mean, for West Devon, the enforcement cases received have gone down. The numbers processed have slightly gone up, but there is a slightly longer term trend of fewer cases being processed than being received. We have, I think, received more enforcement cases recently as well, so it's a trend that's likely to continue. So yeah, it'll be I'm assuming it'll be an ongoing trend.
I just wondered if I mean, is there a COVID factor in there, or is it something else?
No, only insofar as there are it takes slightly longer for officers to do their work with the restrictions of COVID.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Molyneux, I believe you'd like to make a comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. It didn't relate to that specific question, so can I let Councillor Mott go first?
Yes,
I think she's got a comment.
Okay, so I see Councillor Mott was next. Thank you.
Thank you. To help answer your question, Councillor Cheadle, you'll be able to see that enforcement have received a significant number of new cases being brought in, partly I think because people have got on and done stuff when they shouldn't have done, or thought they could probably get away with it without fear of reporting, if you like, because of the lockdown and things like that. So officers have had a huge influx of new cases that have gone in. They do struggle to keep on top of those, as you appreciate. They are also trying to deal with outstanding cases. And along with current staffing issues that we've got at the moment, it does mean that we have seen a slight increase in the number of cases outstanding.
Thank you,
I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Mott. Councillor Cheadle, did you wish to come back, or was that?
Well, no, it's just, you know, there's a huge bit of deja vu going on here that we just, for some reason or other, we just can't get on top of enforcement, but I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Molyneux, would you like to come in now, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Not wishing to preempt the agenda, but in item 9, where we talk about the future work programme, we have scheduled in a 6-monthly performance review. So I think it's in for December that we will be reviewing the performance figures from the first half of the year. And also we've put in a review against the new corporate strategy, whether you call them themes or whatever you want to call them, so that Overview and Scrutiny will be reviewing performance against and outcomes against the themes. So I think the combination in terms of going forward, that we will have the regular review of the performance figures to Overview and Scrutiny, plus also a review of how the council is performing against the outcomes it's trying to achieve in its corporate strategy. I think we will have it covered going forward. That's all I wanted to say, just to make members aware of that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Molyneux. Is that it for this item then, please?
Chair,
right, if we could just go back to the recommendations.
Sorry,
then.
Chair, before you do, Councillor Pearce got his hand up.
Who has, sorry?
Councillor Pearce.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Pearce, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Going back to the waste collections, there was quite an increase in missed collections last summer, and I'm wondering if this is also connected to the green waste collections, because we had a period there where the missed collections doubled over a 2-month period.
I can answer that, Chair, if you would like. I think
please, Mr. Molyneux.
One of the issues that we had, Councillor Pearce, was the fact of the significant increase in the amount of waste from the first lockdown, and actually it took a while for the crews. They were basically out longer to complete the rounds, so I think that might have accounted for the increase. We've also had various people self-isolating and so on, and the contractor trying to work in sort of bubbles to try and protect that. So it's been sort of a challenging time for the waste contractor to try and manage what was increases in our waste in general, plus managing around the COVID issues. So I don't know the specifics, but that's what I would suggest would be the reason around it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Right, so if we go back to the recommendations, recommendation 1, that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee notes the performance figures shown in the Pentana report. 2, that members review the information provided in the dashboards and provide feedback to the portfolio holder on any additional measures required to scrutinise performance. May I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Kimber. All those in favour? If not,
sorry, Chair. Before you do, we have the opportunity for debate now. The proposal's been
oh,
seconded.
sorry. Would anybody like to debate the issue, please?
There is no
anybody typing, Mr. White?
There isn't, Chair, at the moment.
Okay. So then, if I can ask you to note the report and the figures. And if you're not happy with that, if you could start typing, please.
Just giving it a couple of seconds, Chair, but there's nobody according to my PC typing their reluctance to support those recommendations, so we can assume they're unanimously carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Edmonds, for bringing the report and presenting.
Thank you, Chair.
Right, the next item on the agenda is the Planning and Enforcement Review Service Improvement Plan. Who's leading on this one today, please?
I think you might have got me, Chair.
We have.
Thank you. And hopefully with Mr. Molyneux in the background ready to leap in. So I'm just reading from my notes here, which is why I'm looking away from you, which is very poor form, isn't it? So following concerns raised by some members, I've asked Mr. Molyneux to review the planning process and enforcements. Members are able to see the report on the ModGov to be able to see the detail of that and the what's going to be happening with it within that review. So while I do appreciate and understand the frustrations of members and applicants with being able to get hold of officers in some cases, and that there have been some delays, I think it's important to stress that sometimes these delays are outside of officer control, and that I would like to add that officers have worked incredibly hard during this past year in difficult circumstances, with a significant increase in applications, as you've just noted on the performance indicators. So any questions really on that?
Any questions, please?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Yep. Councillor Spettigue.
Sorry, Chair, I'm just muttering to myself while I'm just going through the details. So I mean, I think we can all appreciate the enormous strain on officers, the change in working conditions and the workload of the planning department, which always seems to be quite remarkable. In terms of the of this process, is this a process that ONS will have a hand in all the way through?
No, they would have a hand in the process in that they are able to call and scrutinise any performance, but the reporting will initially go through to DM, as is the current practice in the performance monitoring.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions, please?
There are no indications, Chair.
No.
Crikey, Chair, I'm going to go.
Chair, I didn't get my hand up in time. Could I just
okay, Councillor Cheadle, please.
Could I just ask what the timetable for this review is? When is it due to report?
So in the report will come back to Hub in 6 months' time, as detailed in the papers going to Hub.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Mott. I think it's time to run away and get some lunch.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Right. Before we get to the draft annual work programme, can I just say that we normally have the broadband, where we are with that on the agenda, which we seem to have left off this time. If I could just mention that the broadband post has now been filled and is a current member of staff, Gemma Bairstow, who will start as soon as she escapes our planning department, sorry, Councillor Mott, in a few weeks' time. So that is the only update we have there. Is that everything, Councillor Cheadle?
Yep, that's all the news at the moment, thanks.
Okay, right, that's lovely, thank you. Right, if we could move to item 9, please, the draft annual work programme. And if I could just say that this is an initial draft work programme until we've had the annual meeting in May, and we've decided places, etc., on committees, chairs, etc. This is just an initial programme put together by our officers. So can I firstly ask if anybody has any questions on the work programme going forward? No, doesn't look like it. Oh, golly, sorry. Councillor Kimber.
Yeah, just a question. I see that we've got the planning and planning enforcement improvement plan in June, which we've just heard will be reporting back in 6 months. So I'm just wondering what form that will take.
Mr. Molyneux, would you like to answer, please, as it's got your name beside it?
It has got my name beside it. I think at the time, this was before I'd had the conversation with Councillor Mott in terms of planning performance reporting back into DM committee. Although we did put it in June because members will be aware that from the Plymouth Road report, there's a little bit of an overlap here because we've taken the outstanding actions from the Plymouth Road findings and incorporated them into the wider planning review. And there was always a plan that we would bring back the Plymouth Road action plan update to overview and scrutiny in June. So I need to work out what we do in what order, actually, Councillor Kimber, but that's why it's there.
Yeah, thank you, that's fine.
Right, does anybody else have any questions or comments, please? No? That's lovely. And as I say, it is only an initial draft, so things will change as things progress. Item 10 then, please, is the member learning and development opportunities arising from the meeting. Mr. White.
I'm not sure on this occasion there are any, Chair, other than to reinforce the point that the first committee meeting of the new municipal year following the annual meeting, you're dead right, I'll give you a chance as a committee to amend, adapt the work programme at item 9, but no, other than that, there's nothing else to add, really, Chair. OK,
thank you. Councillor Kimber, I believe you'd like to say something.
Yeah, I think hopefully we've nearly finished the meeting. I think it's the final meeting of our committee this year. So I'd just like to say, I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Mandy, on behalf of the committee members and myself for your work chairing our committee this year, taking on the challenge of keeping us all under control with remote meetings. It's been a pleasure working with you and getting to know you better. So thank you very much.
Thank you for those kind words, Patrick. Thank you. And yes, I know some of the initial meetings at the very start are one that was about 4 hours long, where none of us knew what screens we were on, and we were all in a hopeless pickle on occasions. But we've come through it, and I think as all of us, for every committee and every meeting now, we are getting quite adept. I think we may struggle in a few weeks' time when we have to sit back down in a meeting. and we can't go up and make a cup of tea and things like that we can get away with now. So so yes, but thank you for the kind words, Patrick. And with that, I shall close the meeting, and thank you very much, everyone, and see most of you again at 2 o'clock.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Mandy. All the best, everyone.
Thank you.